I'm so glad that you are here watching this video. It is going to be a goodie. I want to ask you something before we get started. When you feel stressed or overwhelmed, do you ever think something along the lines of, oh, if only I could just be more on top of things, or if there wasn't so much to do, or if I was more in control, things would feel easier. I would stop shouting at everyone. I would be more focused. I would be more able to get more done. Uh, if you said yes to any of those, or you have ever thought anything similar when you are in a state of stress, you are not alone. Every woman I work with is just like you, a highly driven, professional woman who is good at her job, who longs to be a fabulous mum, but who is just carrying so much work deadlines, parenting, home life, emotional labor, the mental load. And when she does finally sit down to take a breath from this all, she doesn't actually feel lighter. In fact, you don't feel ease in sitting still because there is just so much to do and it just feels so heavy. And that is because the weight that you are feeling is not just from all of these things that you are carrying. The heaviness that you are feeling comes from who you are trying to be while you are carrying all of these things. And this heaviness or this stress is what I call identity-based stress. This is a stress or a pressure that doesn't come from the tasks and to-do list, but from the huge expectations that you have on yourself, which means that even when you are vaguely on top, that feeling does not last long. Yes, because more things come in to do, but because of what I want to talk about today. I want to help you to see today which hidden identities might be quietly fueling that identity-based stress, and then how to start stepping out of them so that even when the to-do list is so long you can't even see the end of it and things keep getting piled onto it, you can stay calm, you can stay proactive and in control. So it's not that you can't handle things. It's you handle things all the time. You handle them beautifully. You're the one who gets things done, who keeps the wheels turning, who remembers everything, who does everything. And yet it still feels like it's never enough. There is always more to be done, but also you should be doing more. You should be on top of it. Because there's always that voice kind of chattering away in the background, those things that we say to ourselves, oh, I just need to be more organized or more disciplined to stick to my plan. If I stopped procrastinating or getting distracted or were more productive, things would be easier. I would be more focused. I would be more present. But this voice is not there because you have a systems problem. You have amazing systems. Maybe you don't, but being more organized is not the issue. This identity-based stress is exactly what it says on the box. It's an identity problem. Because most of us are operating from false identities. These are unconscious versions of ourselves that were formed years ago. They were formed when we learned what we needed to do or who we needed to be in order to belong, in order to be loved, in order to stay safe, to be acceptable. And those identities, examples of these, may be the good girl, maybe it's the achiever or the people pleaser or the over-functioner. We'll get into them a little bit just now, but they run our lives like silent operating systems. So they are constantly talking to us. And the thing is that we believe that they are simply a part of who we are. And so we don't question them. We obey them. We go along with them. Okay, yes, okay, I need to do that. I need to be that. So psychologists often say that our identity forms around the age of 7, when our brain begins to link who I am with how people respond to me. So if love, approval, safety were given to me when I performed a certain way, my mind, our mind, your mind took note. Okay, so when I do X, I'm okay, I'm approved of. When I don't do that, or when I do Y, I'm not. And so this became our conditional identity, who we thought we had to be to feel enough. Now, it's not our true identity, and we'll get into that, but it's a conditional identity. The true identity is who we were before we took on these identities, before the age of 7, or when we were born. And that's the work, is to get back there. But I just want to look at these conditional identities and what they look like as we move into adulthood, how they impact us as we move into adulthood. So the good girl learned early on that harmony, everything, excuse me, peaceful and harmonious means love. So when I keep things like that, then I get love. So as an adult, she avoids conflict. She says yes when she really longs to say no. Oh, I just don't want to do that, or it just feels uncomfortable, but I have to say yes. And then she carries perhaps silent, heavy resentment because being nice feels acceptable, makes her feel safe, much safer than perhaps being honest would about what she really wants. But inside, it's unbelievably uncomfortable. Most of us struggle, I think, with a bit of good girl. I call it good girl syndrome, and we get stuck in a cycle. So the achiever got praise for doing well. So she equates her worth with productivity, with achievement, with reaching targets. So resting feels like failure. I can't sit still because I've got to be achieving, because then I'm acceptable. So she keeps going. She keeps doing. She can't sit still, as I say, because there is value in achievement, no value in sitting still. The people pleaser, again, another one that a lot of us ascribe to, learned that peace at any cost is the thing that keeps me safe. So the people pleaser spends her life managing other people's needs, other people's emotions, making sure that there's peace until she is completely burnt out. Her needs are invisible, and again, she's exhausted. The overfunctioner, interestingly, a little bit like the achiever, but she took responsibility early. So maybe the overfunctioner took responsibility for her siblings or for her parents or for specific outcomes. So now she overcarries. She holds everything. She can't relax until everyone's okay. And her value comes from making sure that they all are, that everything is set up and beautifully organized. And then the perfectionist, another one who found control in doing things right. Everything must be right. She only feels safe when she is flawless. The things that she does is flawless. And her fear is that she might be found to be lacking in some way. So these are just a few of those conditional or false identities that we've picked up along the way. They're not character flaws. In fact, they're not even parts of your character or your personality, parts of your personality, survival strategies of your personality, but not part of your true identity at all. They are actually just coping patterns, patterns that made perfect sense back then when you were 7 or younger or a little bit older, to ensure that you were able to survive, that you were provided with food and drink, provided with shelter and security, provided with love and acceptance. But as adults, these strategies are costing you so much. They are costing you your peace. They rob you of your calm and your joy. They leave you stressed out and reactive, striving to live by their rules, while the person that you really are is hidden behind these strategies, longing to come out, but stuck in these patterns. So let's talk about what actually happens inside your body when these identities take over that leaves you so exhausted. When you are living by these rules, if you sense or your body senses that you are not in obedience, if that's the right way of saying it, to the rules, then your nervous system moves into fight, flight, or freeze. And this is not because you're in physical danger, but because your sense of self and your sense of security feels threatened. And these threats look like, for the good girl, this might look like disapproval. Ooh, that's very threatening. For the achiever, it's something like failure, like not reaching that goal, reaching that achievement, that target. For the people pleaser, it's conflict. Ooh, so uncomfortable. For the overfunctioner fears a loss of control. The perfectionist is threatened by mistakes. So you can see how when these things happen, your brain and body react as if you are under physical attack. Your heart rate goes up. Think about a trigger for you. Your heart rate goes up. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your stomach churns. So the danger is not to your life, but maybe the danger is a colleague's tone of voice when they speak to you, or maybe it's a child's meltdown. And the danger is because of what those things mean as a threat to your sense of self and your value. So you can see why this matters. You're not reacting to the reality of the situation. A colleague's tone of voice is simply a colleague's tone of voice. The child's meltdown is simply the child's meltdown. But you are reacting to what you perceive as a threat based on the identity and its rules that have kept you safe for so long. Now, according to the American Institute of Stress, 83% of adults reported being stressed by something internal, whether those are their own thoughts, their own expectations, their own self-judgment, not external demands, not external challenges. That is identity-based stress. 83%. And the problem is that when you don't recognize that, then you try to manage your stress externally. You do all the things that the gurus say will help you to manage your time and your overwhelm better. Maybe you make more lists and systems. You tidy your house. You do more yoga. Instead of addressing the internal pressure, the physiological response that comes from these rules. So what might this look like? Here are some clients who have come to me desperate to move out of their identity-based stress and into a place of internal peace so that they can lead better, whether that's at home, whether that's at work. So see if you can recognize yourself in any of these client stories. Claire is a corporate leader. She has 2 small children, and Claire constantly said yes to extra projects because her achiever told her, if you slow down, you'll fall behind. And Claire was absolutely exhausted. But that achiever got her to the point where resting felt unsafe. And so she just kept driving herself to bigger and bigger targets. And this drive, while it looked good on the outside and she got praise for it on the outside, it was at the expense of her relationships with her children and also with her own health. She was overweight, she was uncomfortable, she was exhausted, she didn't feel well. And in that state, actually, she found herself performing less and less, and she was then stuck in a cycle that drove her to work even harder. Tanya lived with the good girl. Well, this was very hard at home because she found herself, if her partner, for instance, snapped at her, she would instantly apologize, even if she had done nothing wrong. For Tanya, keeping harmony in her home was more important than standing her ground. So, yes, there was a bit more external harmony because there was no conflict, but inside she was resentful, she was frustrated, she felt like she was growing smaller. She was shrinking in her home, she was shrinking in her workplace. And so then she found herself becoming more snappy with her children, unable to focus at work. Really, again, that internal turmoil. Jess struggled with the overfunctioner. The overfunctioner ruled her day every day of her life. And she could not relax unless every lunchbox was perfect, every inbox was empty, the family schedule was sorted. And she would tell herself that it was about being more organized and, she had it all under control. But underneath this endless planning and getting it all done was this need to feel in control so that she felt safe and protected. And when these women came to me, we took our time to sit together and slow down and ask each of them, who am I being right now? And how does the identity that I'm being affect the way I engage with my family, with my work, with my health, with myself? And they were able to shift when they realized that the stress wasn't something that was happening to them because of all these things outside. It was something that was being created by the stories they had in their heads. It was something that they were creating then outside of themselves as a result. What do I mean by this? Well, when we are experiencing internal turmoil or internal conflict that comes with these conditional identities, that internal conflict leaks out into the external. Because when we have that internal conflict, we then do things like snapping at our children, which causes them to feel stressed and anxious. Or we're rushed and frenetic, and that rush and freneticism causes those around us to feel rushed and on edge. And that might feel a little heavy for you right now to think about it. Oh, okay, so I've got this. What do I do about it? It is super exciting, because if that stress and conflict that we are feeling inside that is impacting what is going on outside of us is identity driven, then it can also be identity changed. It can be shifted. You're not stuck there. So I use a process called the Core Identity Blueprint with my clients to help them transform from that place of internal turmoil and conflict to a place of internal peace. So as we work through this process together, they become aware of, they get to know, and they are able to cast off these identities. They're able to replace the drivers and the rules of those identities with the truth about who they are, outside of being the good girl, or being the people pleaser, or being the perfectionist. And this brings so much freedom, because they're no longer triggered, they're no longer reactive. They can set boundaries. They have more time for themselves, and they can slow down enough to be fully present in the moment. At the beginning of that process is identifying the stress that your identity or your identities, because we can hold a few of them, are driving. And the identity stress map is the tool that we use for this in the program. And I wanted to offer it to you today so that you can use this map to help you begin the process to freedom from these identities. So the map is in the links to, whether this is on the training or in the podcast episode. Find your identity stress map in the links, because this is a quick 5-minute reflection that is going to help you notice what triggers your stress, what identity pattern is driving that stress, and then help you to recalibrate in the moment so that you can move out of that stress and into that inner peace, that inner calm, that place of I actually am going to choose how I behave. This simple process is not about fixing something. There's nothing broken, there's nothing wrong with you. It is at this stage, by doing this map, simply about awareness. It's about seeing yourself more clearly, because once you can see the pattern, then you're no longer stuck inside it. It's no longer a quite simply just a part of you. Well, I just am this way. It's actually just a pattern that you've learned to stay safe. It's a pattern that can be changed. And when you kind of pause, when you slow down mid pressure, mid turmoil, and say, "Oh, that's actually just my achiever talking," you can objectify that voice. You aren't stuck in it, but you create space between you and between her, between you and that voice, and the stress that you create. And then, as I say, you have the opportunity to choose what you do about it. So this is one of the fundamental keys of resilience, is getting out of the rules, getting out, no longer being stuck in the strategies of these identities. And when you're there, you're not threatened by the things that once used to send you into a spiral. You don't get knocked down. You don't have to get knocked down to stand up again. You're actually have the capacity to stand tall, to stand firm, to choose how you operate. Jamie Winship, who has done decades of work on identity and external peace building as a result of that internal peace building, says that when you live from your true identity, you live at peace no matter your circumstances. And that's what I want for you, is to find this peace inside, no matter the chaos that is swirling around you outside. I'm not here to help you make your external life quieter, because at this stage with children and work, it's not going to get quieter. But I am here to help you make your mind quieter despite all that's going on outside, so that, well, from the peace, from the quietness of your internal, what I call your internal thinking environment, a place that you can think clearly from. So your real identity, the one you held when you were a little girl saying, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, look at me." You know, when I look at my children and they're so capable of calling for attention and being sure that they deserve the spotlight. That clear, confident little girl who knew that she had value. That little girl already knows how to lead you to be the mum you want to be, how to lead you to excel in your work. She's just been buried under years of conditioning to be a certain way in order to feel like you belong, in order to feel like you are acceptable. This is nobody's fault. It's just part of the human condition that this happens. It happens to all of us. You are not alone, which is why I'm here telling you about this all, because you also don't need to stay here. You can start the process of discarding these identities today. So, as I say, if you're curious which identity is running your stress, download your free identity stress map from the link. It'll take you just a few minutes to go through the map, start to see which identity is ruling your day, what stress it's causing you and why. And if you'd like a bit more guidance, I would love to help you work through this map. I'd love to invite you to book a free identity stress mapping call. In 30 minutes, we will sit together, identify your pattern, identify the triggers, and we'll find one simple step to help you come back to a place of internal peace, so that your home can be more peaceful, so that you can be more present, you can be more focused on the things that really do matter. I look forward to seeing you there.